The dining room was silent, except for the sound of my laptop closing. 10:23 p.m. on a Tuesday night. My stepdad, the man who'd lived in our house for 4 years, who my mom trusted completely, stared at the screen I'd just shown him. His face had gone pale. "Where did you get this?" His voice was steady, but I saw his hand tremble as he reached for his wine glass. The worst part wasn't what I'd discovered. It was knowing my mother was upstairs right now, humming while she organized the closet, completely unaware that her entire world was built on lies. 347 text messages, 62 hotel receipts, and one private Instagram account he thought nobody knew about. But I'm getting ahead of myself. 6 months earlier, everything seemed perfect. My mom had married Geoffrey when I was 19. I'm 23 now. He was charming, successful, a financial consultant who worked from home twice a week. He remembered birthdays, cooked elaborate Sunday dinners, and had this way of making my mom laugh that I hadn't seen since my dad passed away 7 years ago. My younger sister Phoebe was 16 and actually liked him. That alone felt like a miracle. She'd hated every guy Mom had dated before. "He actually listens when I talk about theater," Phoebe had said during one of our late-night sister talks. "Like, he came to my play, front row." Mom was happier than I'd seen her in years. She'd started painting again, something she'd given up after Dad died. The house smelled like turpentine and hope. I was finishing my marketing degree online while working at a boutique downtown. Life felt stable, normal, like maybe we'd finally found our footing as a family. Looking back, I can pinpoint 3 moments I should have questioned. 3 tiny cracks in the perfect facade. 1. The way Geoffrey's phone was always face down on the table. 2. How he'd started working late on Thursdays. Every single Thursday. 3. The new cologne. Expensive. Different from what he usually wore. But I dismissed them. I wanted Mom to be happy. I wanted our family to work. The first real crack appeared on a Saturday morning in April. I'd borrowed Geoffrey's iPad to look up a recipe. Mine was charging upstairs. When I opened it, his messages were synced. The preview notification was still on the screen. "Can't wait to see you Thursday. Same place?" The contact name was just a heart emoji. Red. Simple. Devastating. My hands went cold. I told myself it could be innocent. A client. A friend. But the emoji. That specific emoji. I clicked into the conversation before I could talk myself out of it. The messages went back 4 months. Pet names, inside jokes, photos I couldn't unsee. Geoffrey at restaurants I recognized. Restaurants he'd told Mom were client dinners. One photo showed him with his arm around someone whose face was cropped out, but I could see long, dark hair, a red dress, a hand with burgundy nail polish resting on his chest. There were 127 messages in that thread alone. I took screenshots. My heart was pounding so hard I felt dizzy. Then I checked his other messages. Another conversation. Different names. TR with a blue heart. Then another. A with a yellow heart. I spent 2 hours that day, sitting in my locked bedroom, documenting everything. I created a folder on my cloud drive labeled Design Projects, something Geoffrey would never think to open. By the time I stopped, I had evidence of at least 3 ongoing affairs, maybe more. The nausea hit me in waves. This man ate breakfast with us, kissed my mother goodbye every morning, sat next to her in church. I knew I had to tell Mom. But how do you destroy your mother's happiness? How do you prove that the man who makes her laugh, who holds her hand during movies, who finally made her feel safe again, is a liar? I called my best friend Kira that night. "You have to tell her," Kira said immediately. "Autumn, if you don't, and she finds out you knew? I know, what if I'm wrong? What if there's an explanation? For messages to 3 different women with heart emojis? Kira's voice was gentle but firm. You know what this is. I decided to talk to Phoebe first. She deserved to know before everything exploded. I found her in her room the next day, Sunday afternoon, surrounded by college brochures. She was applying to theater programs, dreaming about NYU and Juilliard. Can I talk to you about something serious? She looked up, saw my face, and closed her laptop. What's wrong? I showed her everything, every screenshot, every conversation. I watched my 16-year-old sister's face crumble. No, she whispered. No, he wouldn't. Autumn, are you sure these are his messages? It's his iPad, Phoebe. His accounts. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, Mom's going to be devastated. I know. When are you going to tell her? I took a deep breath. Tonight, after dinner. Will you be there with me? She nodded, wiping her eyes. We have to protect Mom. Dinner that night was torture. Geoffrey made his famous lasagna. Mom talked about the art show she was preparing for, her first in 8 years. Phoebe pushed food around her plate, barely speaking. I couldn't taste anything. Everything okay, girls? Mom asked, looking between us. You're both quiet. Just tired, I managed. Long week. After dinner, while Geoffrey was loading the dishwasher, I caught Mom's eye. Can we talk in the living room? All of us? Something in my voice made her stop. What's wrong? Please, can we sit down? Geoffrey followed us in, drying his hands on a towel. He sat next to Mom on the couch, completely relaxed. He had no idea what was coming. I opened my laptop. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. Mom, I need to show you something. And Geoffrey, you need to be honest about what I'm about to show. Mom's face went pale. Autumn, you're scaring me. I turned the screen toward them. The first screenshot. The message with the red heart emoji. The room went silent. Mom leaned forward, reading. I watched the color drain from her face. She looked at Geoffrey. What is this? Babe, I can explain, he started. Don't. Mom's voice was cold, harder than I'd ever heard it. Don't babe me right now. What is this? I scrolled. Another conversation. Another. The photos, the dates, the lies. Mom stood up. She was shaking. How long? Geoffrey ran his hand through his hair. The charming mask was cracking. Diane, please, you have to understand. How long? It's not what it looks like. There are hundreds of messages. Mom's voice broke. Photos. Can't wait to see you. Last night was amazing. You're going to stand there and tell me this isn't what it looks like? What Geoffrey did next was masterful in its cruelty. He took a breath, composed himself. When he spoke again, his voice was calm, reasonable. The voice of someone trying to talk down a hysterical person. Diane, sweetheart, I know how this looks, but you're not seeing the full picture. These are clients. The hospitality industry, I've told you, it requires building personal relationships. The messages might seem flirtatious, but it's just how business works in my field. I felt my blood boil. Business? Geoffrey, one of these messages says, I love the way you... Autumn. He turned to me, and his eyes were cold. I know you've never liked me. I know you've been looking for reasons to break up this family since day one. That's not true, isn't it? You've never given me a real chance. And now you're manipulating screenshots, taking things out of context, trying to turn your mother against me. I'm not manipulating anything, I was shouting now. These are your messages from your iPad. Mom was sitting back down, her hand over her mouth. She looked between us, confused, hurt. Diane, Geoffrey said softly, kneeling in front of her. I love you. Only you. Yes, some of my client relationships might look inappropriate to someone who doesn't understand the industry, but I have never been unfaithful to you. I swear on everything I hold sacred. He was good. So good. I could see Mom wavering. What about the hotel receipts? Phoebe spoke up from the doorway. We all turned. She was holding her phone. I found them. In your office. 62 receipts from hotels around the city. All on Thursdays. All within the last 4 months. Geoffrey's jaw tightened. Client meetings. Sometimes they prefer to meet in hotel lounges. It's neutral territory. Lounges, I said slowly. Don't charge $347 a night. These are room charges, Geoffrey. Rooms you stayed in. Some of them have minibar charges. Room service. The mask slipped again, just for a second, but we all saw it. Mom asked Geoffrey to leave that night. Not permanently, she wasn't ready for that yet, but to stay with his brother for a few days while she processed. He agreed, packed a bag, kissed her forehead before he left. I love you, Diane. We'll get through this. Once you calm down and think rationally, you'll see that this is all a misunderstanding. The door closed behind him. Mom collapsed on the couch and cried for 2 hours straight. The next morning, I woke to find Mom at the kitchen table, laptop open, surrounded by papers. What are you doing? I asked. Research. Her voice was flat, exhausted. If he's lying about this, what else is he lying about? Phoebe emerged from her room. The 3 of us spent the entire day digging. Credit card statements Mom had access to showed charges Geoffrey had never mentioned. Jewelry stores, expensive restaurants on dates when he'd told Mom he was working late. Weekend trips to hotels in neighboring cities during conferences that, when we searched, didn't exist. Then Phoebe found something that changed everything. Mom, Autumn, look at this. She'd been searching Geoffrey's name online. Basic due diligence Mom admitted she'd never done before they got married. There was a forum post from 8 years ago. A support group for people dealing with infidelity. A woman named Kristen had shared her story about her ex-husband. She didn't use his full name, just G. But the details matched. Financial consultant, charming, serial cheater. He'd had 7 affairs during their 10-year marriage. When I finally left him, Kristen had written, I discovered he'd taken out a second mortgage on our house without telling me. He'd opened credit cards in my name. He'd stolen $43,000 from our joint savings to fund his affairs. By the time I realized what was happening, I was buried in debt I didn't even know existed. Mom's hands were shaking as she read. We need to check our accounts, she whispered. Right now. What we found was worse than we'd imagined. Mom logged into their joint savings account first, the account that should have had $67,000, money she'd saved from selling her parents' house after they passed. Balance, $8,243. No, Mom whispered. No. There were transfers, dozens of them, to accounts we didn't recognize. $2,000 here, $5,000 there. They'd been happening for 18 months. Then we checked the credit cards. 3 cards Mom didn't know existed, all in her name, all maxed out. Total debt, $74,000. Mom made a sound I'll never forget, a broken animal sound of someone realizing they've been completely betrayed. He stole from me, she said numbly. He stole from my children, the money I was saving for Phoebe's college. I was pulling up bank statements, my hands shaking with rage. There's more. Look, he's been paying for an apartment downtown, $2,800 a month for the last year. A separate apartment, separate from our house, a place he could take his affairs, a place he could live a completely different life. We'd been so focused on the infidelity that we hadn't seen the financial fraud. Phoebe was crying silently, her head on the table. Mom was staring at the screen like she couldn't comprehend what she was seeing. I grabbed my phone and called the one person I knew who could help, my Aunt Beverly, Mom's older sister. She was a lawyer, criminal defense. Autumn, what's wrong? I explained everything, every detail, the affairs, the money, the secret apartment. Beverly was silent for a long moment. Then, do not let Geoffrey know what you found. Not yet. I'm coming over. We're going to the police. Tonight. We return to the opening scene now, with full context. 10:23 p.m. Tuesday night. The dining room. My laptop is between us. But this time, Geoffrey wasn't looking at screenshots of messages. He was looking at bank statements, credit card bills, transfer records, rental agreements for the apartment. Beverly sat next to Mom, a folder of documents in front of her. Geoffrey, Beverly said calmly, we've compiled evidence of systematic financial fraud. You've stolen nearly $59,000 from my sister. You've opened fraudulent credit accounts in her name. You forged her signature on loan documents. Geoffrey's jaw worked. Diane signed those accounts. She knew about the investments. I never signed anything! Mom's voice cracked. Show me one document with my signature. One! Beverly slid papers across the table. We had a handwriting expert examine these signatures this afternoon. They're forgeries. Decent ones, but forgeries. You're looking at identity theft, wire fraud, and forgery charges. The mask was gone now, completely gone. Geoffrey's face twisted into something ugly. You ungrateful! He looked at Mom. I gave you everything. I made you happy. So I made some investments without boring you with the details. So I have friends you don't know about. That doesn't make me a criminal. You stole from me, Mom said quietly. You stole from my daughters. You destroyed my credit. You lied about everything. I loved you! No, Mom stood up. Her voice was steady now, strong. You loved my money. You loved having someone to lie to, but you never loved me. If you had, you wouldn't have done this. Beverly opened her folder again. We're filing charges tomorrow morning, but I wanted to give you one opportunity. You have 48 hours to transfer back every dollar you stole. If you do, we'll consider reducing the charges. If you don't, I will personally ensure you face the maximum penalty for every crime you've committed. Geoffrey looked between us. For a moment, I thought he might do something stupid, violent. Instead, he laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. You're really going to do this? Destroy me over some money? Over some messages? You destroyed yourself, I said. We're just making sure everyone else knows who you really are. What happened next moved fast. Geoffrey didn't return the money. We filed charges Wednesday morning. By Friday, he was arrested at his brother's house. But that's when things got interesting. The detective assigned to our case, Detective Rita Walsh, called Mom on Saturday morning. Mrs. Hartley, I need you to come down to the station. There's something you need to know. We went together, all three of us. Beverly met us there. Detective Walsh led us into a conference room. There were photos spread across the table. Women, lots of women. After we arrested Mr. Hartley, Walsh said, we obtained warrants for his devices and his apartment. What we found, Mrs. Hartley, your husband has been running what we're calling a romantic con for at least 15 years. She showed us documents. Geoffrey had been married twice before Mom, something he'd never disclosed. Both marriages had ended similarly: financial fraud, identity theft. His first wife had lost her house. The second had lost her business. We've identified at least 9 women he's been simultaneously involved with over the past 4 years, Walsh continued, including the 3 you found messages from. Each one believed they were in an exclusive relationship with him. Several have come forward with evidence of financial manipulation. Mom was white as paper. 9 women? That we know of. We're still investigating. Walsh pulled out another file. He's also used at least 4 different names. Geoffrey Hartley is the one on your marriage license, but he's also been George Hart, Geoffrey Hartley, and Geoffrey Harris. Who is he really? Mom whispered. We're still trying to figure that out. His background is almost entirely fabricated. The company he claimed to work for? It exists, but they have no record of him as an employee. His references for your marriage? Friends he paid to pose as colleagues. I felt like the floor was tilting. Everything was fake? Everything? Walsh nodded. I'm sorry. I know this is devastating. But the good news is, with this much evidence, he's not getting out on bail. And we have enough to charge him federally. This crosses state lines. He's looking at serious prison time. The trial took place 4 months later in September. The prosecution had a mountain of evidence. Testimony from 9 women, bank records, forged documents. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty on all counts: wire fraud, identity theft, forgery, criminal impersonation. The judge sentenced him to 12 years in federal prison and ordered him to pay restitution to all his victims. Combined, he owed over $400,000. Mom recovered about $30,000 of what he'd stolen, money in accounts that could be traced and frozen. The rest was gone. Spent his double life. But she was rebuilding. We all were. The day of the sentencing, Mom asked to make a victim impact statement. I sat behind her with Phoebe, holding her hand. You didn't just steal my money, Mom said, her voice clear and strong. You stole 4 years of my life. You stole my daughter's college fund. You stole my ability to trust. But you didn't break me. You didn't break my family. We're stronger now than we ever were. And I want you to know that every day you spend in prison, I'll be out here, living my life, painting my art, loving my daughters, and never, ever thinking about you. Geoffrey looked at her. I expected anger, defiance. Instead, he looked small, defeated. Like the mask had fallen away, and there was nothing underneath but a sad, empty man who'd built his entire life on lies. As they led him away in handcuffs, I felt Phoebe squeeze my hand. It's really over, she whispered. Yeah, I said. It's really over. That was 8 months ago. Mom's art show opened last month, the one she'd been planning before everything fell apart. She called it Reconstruction, paintings about building yourself back up from ruins. It was a sold-out opening night. Phoebe got early acceptance to 3 theater programs. She chose Northwestern, a good theater program, close enough to visit, far enough to spread her wings. I finished my degree. I'm working at a marketing agency now, helping small businesses build authentic brands. I've learned a lot about authenticity this year. We still live in the same house. Mom kept it in the divorce. She had the locks changed the day Geoffrey was arrested. She redecorated his office, turned it into a second art studio. Sometimes, late at night, we sit together in the living room, the same room where everything fell apart, and we talk about it. about how we missed the signs, about how charisma can mask cruelty, about how love shouldn't cost you your peace, your money, or your truth. I'm sorry I brought him into our lives, Mom said last week. Don't apologize, Phoebe told her. You were trying to be happy. There's nothing wrong with that. Besides, I added, we survived. We're okay. And now we know what it really looks like. We won't settle for anything less. Mom smiled. A real smile. The kind that reaches her eyes. If there's anything I've learned from this nightmare, it's this. Trust your instincts. Document everything. Protect the people you love. And never, ever be afraid to burn down a life built on lies. Because on the other side of that fire, something real can finally grow. We're living proof.